Hi everyone, I'm Peter Graham. I'm the Executive Director of the Global Buildings Performance Network and Associate Professor in Architecture at Monash University in Australia. I wanted to talk about two key challenges that are influencing or should influence our movement for sustainable buildings between now and 2030. The first is the need for a new social contract, redefining the way we approach the argument for better building regulations and performance. And the second, which supports the new concept of the new social contract, is really a change in the way we perceive the role of research and education as a form of social action to achieve climate change transformation and address the emergencies that we all face now. Given the impact of the building sector on climate, environment and economies, can there really be any energy justice without sustainable buildings? Sustainable buildings safeguard our health, provide economic opportunities and drive down greenhouse gas emissions as global temperatures rise. The evidence of significant health and economic benefits of implementing zero emissions policies and practices in the building sector show that there are compelling non-climate drivers for mandating sustainable buildings in codes and regulations as part of a new social contract. The idea of a social contract has its origins in the Enlightenment philosophies of the likes of Thomas Hobbes and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and concerned the individual foregoing some liberties in exchange for state or government order and collective rights. Without the social contract, it's argued human nature would undermine the development of mutually beneficial relationships and could, to quote Hobbes, end up creating lives that are solitary or nasty, brutish and short. Our lack of adequate building policies exacerbates the impact of climate crisis on people and building-related climate risks. Our failure to mainstream sustainable buildings demands that we reform our urban policies as a new social contract. This new social contract would deny us the freedom to build unsustainably, so as to avoid what we see already as the suffering of people whose lives are indeed brutish and foreshortened by buildings that don't provide adequate shelter in the face of a heating planet. According to Article 25 of the International Charter of Human Rights, every individual has the right to adequate housing. To be adequate in the face of climate emergencies, housing needs to be fit for future climates. It should provide thermal comfort, refuge from extremes, and improve health through bioclimatic design, renewable energy, and technologies like grid interactivity. However, access to sustainable housing is far from universal. We as a movement have held the fort by slowing the increase of emissions from the building sector, but the scale of the transition required to get the building sector on a zero emissions pathway is significant. We can do it, but we can't rely on incremental wins anymore. Research, education, technical support and advocacy must be deployed as a coordinated and collective effort aimed at supporting transformational changes. We've got growing political and private sector commitment to net zero and increasing funding opportunities from philanthropy available to seize this challenge, but to do so requires a change in tactics. We need to change to action research, action learning, universal access to education, and leading change from the bottom up, working where the tons are and where vulnerable communities are. So a new action research and action learning agenda is required to support the new social contract. Action research and action learning empowers local stakeholders with data and evidence of the health and climate benefits of sustainable housing, and this has accelerated policy reforms that provide climate adequate housing and improve conditions for scaling up public and private investment. A paradigm of education needs to shift from preparing students for work in a profession to being able to develop the professional skills and knowledges to support rapid sustainable transformation. Alumni who engage in sustainable building are creating new knowledge, overcoming new barriers, and building new and innovative skills on every sustainability project. We need to build the feedback loops to ensure that their experience is being incorporated into curriculum. The evidence shows that sustainable buildings can be a win-win, but we need to move together in a coordinated way to promote a new social contract which denies the right to build unsustainably in favour of provision of the right to adequate housing. And we need countries to progress toward achieving environmental justice by mandating sustainable buildings as part of a new social contract, supported by action research, action learning, and advocacy at scale.